Hey all, welcome back to the channel. Now today I've actually managed to get some time to update the format of the tier list that I use within my in-depth reviews, and this is something that I have been meaning to do for quite some time. So not only have I changed the format, some heroes with the new format have moved around ever so slightly. There's no drastic changes or anything here, so all the in-depth reviews that I have up will still be valid. It's just a couple of slight little changes here. Now what I'll actually do is I'll bring up the new format and then I'll talk you through how it works, and once we've done that I'll then run through all the heroes and the reason for their placement. So let's check this out. So if you've been watching my in-depth reviews before, this should look pretty familiar here. We just have a few changes, and I do feel these changes were needed just to flesh things out a bit more. Now the first one I'll discuss is the fact that you'll see each of the 5 tiers has now got a low, mid and high section. So this is when say for example, if a character just scrapes into a tier, then they would be in the lower section, or if it's a character that's very close to the next tier but doesn't quite make it, then they would be in the high section there. Now you will also notice that quite a few characters have got 1 or 2 plus symbols on their actual avatar. Now if we look down the bottom right, we'll see that the plus symbol means you move up 1 tier with synergies with other characters. So let's just say for example, let's look at Ronan. If he had 1 plus symbol, he would move from level 1 high to level 2 low. If he had 2 plus symbols, he would move from level 1 high to level 2 mid. And when I do run over each of the characters, if they do have the little plus symbol, then I'll discuss who the synergy is with, and within the description of this video I'll leave details of that synergy as well. So if you want to find out why a character would move up, you don't want to jump to different parts of the video to try and find it, just simply hit the description and all the info you need will be there. Now we'll start off then running actually through the characters. So we've got level 1 characters first, and this is essentially trash tier characters that, out with the fact that you may at some point in the future need them for events, you wouldn't farm them at all, you wouldn't spend any kind of resources or any kind of energy on them. So in low level 1 you have Scientist Supreme. She's a character that the whole intent behind her is that she adds debuffs to your team and flips them, but it just doesn't happen that way at all. What happens is she'll add debuffs to a team and then the other team will slow her down, for example, something along the lines of that, or stun her, and then all the debuffs are stuck on your team, and that's it. She's actually been a hindrance rather than a help to your team there, so she's the lowest rated character for that reason. You then have Ronan. Now he's high level 1, he does have some elements of his kit which can be useful. He's got the ability block and he's got the cleanse which works on all the characters, which is certainly very nice, but he's just simply far too slow. This completely kills him. You'll barely get the chance to actually use the ability block or the cleanse due to how slow he actually is. Now next up then we have level 2 characters. These are characters that they offer slight use, but there are far better characters in the game that you all want to put your resources into. Now level 2 mid we have Iron Fist. He's a character that his ultimate may do an absolute ton of damage, but everything else in his kit is underwhelming, and that would be his offensive and defensive stats. His passive is too random, that will randomly heal allies, but it could very well heal an ally who doesn't actually need it. And also you've got the fact that there's a low chance to chain on his basic attack, and his special is based around heals. He's only got 2 attacks and they are essentially single target due to the low chance to chain on the basic there. The next character we'll look at here is Groot. Now he's one of the few characters which has got 2 of the plus symbols, meaning with synergies he would move from level 2 high all the way up to level 3 mid. Now on his own he's really pretty useless. He's a protector class, but he doesn't do a massive amount of healing, and he's really pretty slow as well. Now if he was teamed up with Rocket, or if he was even teamed up with Star-Lord as well, that would make him even better. Star-Lord gives them extra speed and extra damage, but you team him up with Rocket and what happens is he essentially becomes a hybrid protector stroke support class, and that makes him far better. On top of that, with Rocket, he will actually allow Rocket to do additional damage on his ultimate as well. So on his own I really wouldn't recommend putting any resources into him, but in a Guardians of the Galaxy team, and especially teamed up with Rocket, he certainly becomes a lot more viable. final character we look at here in level 2 would be Bullseye. Now, Bullseye's all about single target damage, but one of the problems with him is that a lot of his kit relies on him getting crits, and if he doesn't actually get crits, then his damage can be a lot lower there. And possibly I would say one of the biggest problems, and something that would be easy to address to make him much better, is the fact that his ultimate that hits like a truck, it takes too long to charge. I think it's 4 turns it takes to actually charge, and he's really squishy, doesn't really have anything else defensive wise in his kit to keep him up, so on a lot of occasions he will actually be taken down before he gets a chance to fire off that ultimate. And finally, you've got the fact that he's possibly got one of the most underwhelming passives in the game. So that is your level 2 characters. So next up then we have our level 3 characters. Now, low level 3 characters I wouldn't recommend farming at all, but once we get to the high level 3 characters, we've actually got some really nice ones here. Now, if we look at the low level 3 characters, we've got 2 here. We've got Punisher and also Hulk. Now, the reason I would have Punisher as low as this is that he does start off very well in a fight with his AoE ultimate, and then he follows it up with his special, but he has 0 utility in his kit, and his kit is based around actually villains and going up against villains. So if you're going up against a hero team, he won't be doing as much damage, and he's also pretty slow as well, so that pulls him down a fair bit there. Now, talking of slow characters, we have, I believe, the slowest character in the game, and this completely kills any use he could have. So this is Hulk. Now, when we look at protector classes, if they're relatively slow, it can be useful because it means the taunt is up longer. But when they're exceptionally slow and they also have low resistance such as Hulk does, then what that means is you can stun him, you can slow him even further, and other players will get potentially even up to about 3 or 4 turns before Hulk can move at all. So that's the reason he's so low there, and he's a character that hopefully in time we will see a massive rework with. Now, slap bang right in the middle of all the tiers here, we have Daredevil. So it's level 3 mid I currently sit him at. Now, he's a character that can put out an obscene amount of damage very early in a match, but the reason I have him mid tier is just down to the fact that there's too much RNG in his kit, and that's down to the low multipliers that he has to actually chain on his skills, so he can do a ton of damage across a wide variety of characters, or he can end up being really quite underwhelming. He's a character that hopefully in time I would like to see him get some guaranteed chains, like for example what they've done with Star-Lord. They changed his skills from, I think it was maybe 30% chance to chain to a guaranteed chance to chain. If Daredevil was to get this, he really would jump way up in the rankings. Now, next up we've got level 3 high characters. So these are characters that in some instances I do use myself and I actually highly rate them, but they just fall a little bit short of being in the alpha themselves. You'll notice quite a lot of them actually have the little Synergy plus symbol there. So the first one we'll look at anyway, this is Mordo. So with Synergies he would be sitting still as an alpha character, and that's how I've got him rated at the moment in my in-depth review. So Mordo is all about applying debuffs such as blind and slow and stun. The one thing that pulls him down a little bit is there's a lot of RNG in his kit because it's not a guaranteed chance for the debuffs to actually apply. Now, if you were to team him up with Loki, that would work absolutely fantastic and pull him up to alpha, because when a Mystic character is defeated, and that can even be on your own side, so that would be one of Loki's summons, and that will provide ability energy to Mordo, meaning you can fire off his skills even quicker. Now, also with Loki, he will increase Mordo's focus, meaning he has a higher chance to apply his debuffs, so that can be a very nice combo there. Next up we have what was to be the first X-Men character that came to the game as quite a big surprise. It is Wolverine. Now, he can do a huge amount of damage, especially on his ultimate, and also in his kit he has bleed on crit. One of the problems with that is it's not guaranteed and you have to get the crit, so that does pull him down a little bit there. You've also got his survivability. Now, that is fantastic. When you max him out, he can heal up to 15% of his health per turn, which is huge. But what keeps him as a level 3 character is that he's really quite slow. So it means that he won't be putting out as much damage, of course, but he also won't be healing as often. Now, if you team him up with a character such as Merc Lieutenant or Black Widow, he'll be getting a ton more often, which means his survivability goes up, and you'll also be able to fire off these attacks more often, meaning you'll have a higher chance to apply the bleeds as well there. Now, the next character we have here, this came as part of a combo, was Ant-Man and the Wasp for the movie. Now, Ant-Man's sitting higher than Wasp, but I'll explain why. So, the way Wasp and Ant-Man work is there's a lot of synergy between their kits, but the way it works is that Ant-Man doesn't need to run with Wasp, but Wasp needs to run with Ant-Man to get bonuses. She does get a few nice bonuses with him, and with those bonuses, they would pull her from a level 3 high up to a alpha low rating there. Next up we have Thor. He's got 2 of the plus symbols you'll see here. He hits like an absolute truck, he can take a ton of damage, he's got an AoE stun, but he's really very slow. In a way it's possibly to counter how high his damage is, because he's got really high base damage. I believe it came out at A in my in-depth reviews, and he's got some pretty decent multipliers as well there. Now, if you were to team him up with a character that would speed him up, so again Merc Lieutenant or Black Widow, then he would move all the way up to a mid-alpha rating. The next character we'll look at is another Defenders character, and all these characters really, probably with the exception of Jessica Jones, are a little bit underwhelming. So it is Luke Cage. Now previously I had him as a low alpha character, so he's slightly moved down, so he's a level 3 high character. Now what is good about Luke Cage is that when you upgrade his skills he can actually get 2 turns of taunt, which is pretty huge. But the problem with Luke Cage is that a lot of protectors will have the taunt and the defense in one skill, because if you're asking all the enemies to actually attack you, you want to be sure you've got your defense up so you can actually sustain that attack. But with Luke Cage you need to make the choice of either taunting first or putting your defense up first, so he really has to run with another character. The likes of Drax can work really well because he can put the defense up on Drax on that first turn, and he can also on the next turn put up the taunt for 2 turns as well, and then you've got the taunt for later on in the match there. So that's a combo that can work nice, but I would say he's a level 3 high character. Next one we have is one that I use in my main Blitz and Arena team. It is Elektra. She's got Cleanse in her kit, she's got a nice amount of survivability due to the stealth on her special, and her ultimate can hit like an absolute truck. I've seen her crit from the region of 60,000 damage, so if you get lucky there's a lot of characters she can actually one-shot with that ultimate. That is with a fence up on her as well, I should mention. Now, next character we have is one that would move up a tier with Synergies. So this is Winter Soldier. He's a blaster class, he can do a huge amount of damage, especially on the first turn with his ultimate, and he's actually pretty sturdy as well for a blaster. Now, the thing that pulls him down, like quite a few characters here, is the attack speed. So again, pair him up with the likes of Merc Lieutenant or Black Widow, and I would say he would move up to a low alpha rating. Next up we have Jessica Jones, a character that was underrated for really quite some time. I think a lot of people would probably think she would fall under the level 1 or level 2 rating, but she really can offer quite a lot. With so many teams now being based around applying debuffs to you, Jessica Jones can cleanse all them in one go. And she's also pretty good at generating energy for her team as well, and then she's got the cleanse on her ultimate, so she is a really nice character. The reason she's not higher than level 3 high is that she is very situational. You won't always need to cleanse debuffs there, but the energy that she provides can come in very useful. The final character we have here in level 3 high would be Nebula, and again she's a character that I feel is vastly underrated by a lot of people. She has a ton of survivability in her kit, and she's got really high uptime on the benefits she can add to herself. That's the counter, the speed up, and also the evade as well. On her ultimate she applies 2 stacks of evade to herself, which is absolutely awesome. I've seen her sometimes go up against 2 characters when she's the only one left, and with her survivability she's still able to beat them. The reason she's not any higher is that her damage can be a little bit subpar, so that does keep her within the level 3 bracket. When we look at the alpha rating, this is characters really that they can add a lot of value to the majority of teams that you will run in the game. And also with alpha rating there are a few quite situational characters, but what these characters do in that specific situation is so strong that it bumps them up to this tier. Now if we look at the low rated alpha characters, we start off with Drax here. So the reason he's so good, he's got that taunt in the first turn, so you don't have to worry about any characters being quicker than you. That taunt will be there straight away. One of the reasons he's not any higher than low alpha is the fact that once his initial taunt, which he gets at the start of the fight, and the subsequent taunt which he casts after it is gone, doesn't really do much for the rest of the match. He does have drain, so he can get back a bit of health, but he is really quite slow, so he won't be draining too much. That's the reason I've not placed him any higher there. Now, next up, recent addition to the game, we have Scarlet Witch. She was a character that was quite hard to place. The reason being is I would say that she is the first true support character in the game. She can work with a huge amount of characters. The amount of combos you have where she could work well really are staggering, and that's down to her ultimate where she will apply an extra counter to debuffs. So rather than having one stun, when you hit a character you can stun them for 2 turns, which is really pretty awesome. She's also got the new buff Deflect, and the way Deflect works is it essentially is a guaranteed block there. Now I've got her low alpha. I don't have any plus symbols here because she can synergize with just about any character that adds debuffs, so although lots of characters would pull her up, she really needs those other characters to be useful, and that's the reason I've got her at low alpha rating. We've then got Antman. We slightly touched on him there. You've got the combos between Antman and Wasp, but as mentioned, Wasp needs Antman more than he actually needs her to be a proficient character. In his kit, he's got the 2 turns of ability block, which is pretty huge. He's got the AoE slow, and he's also got the ability to cleanse and steal positive effects from the enemy as well, so that's really nice. We then have Korath. He's slightly moved up. He was a very high level 3 character. He's now sitting as a low alpha character. The reason he's moved up is previously his passive was bugged and it wasn't giving him speed up at the start of a fight. Now that he has that, he's one of the fastest characters in the game, meaning you can fire off that ultimate with the heal block, 50% chance for ability block, and also you've got the very nice special where you can choose to apply a taunt to a specific character if you want to burn them down. So it's really nice that it makes him really fit into the bounty hunter mold, and he can select a target and everyone focuses on that particular target. For mid-range alpha, we start off here with Nobu. Now, Nobu works exceptionally well with hand characters, and that's why you've got this synergy there that would move him up to high alpha if you pair him up with the likes of the Hand Archer and Elektra as well. Now, with Nobu, he's got those fantastic summons. The Hand Archer is one of the few characters that can remove the taunt from Thanos, and the Hand Blade Master does an exceptional amount of damage. When you level up his ultimate high enough, you can apply 1 to 2 stacks of counter to all allies. So if you run him in a summon team, you can maybe applying anywhere between 10 and 20 stacks of counter, and counter will break a lot of chains as well, so it really is a very useful skill. The next character we have is quite an exclusive one here, but with the event coming round more often, I see a lot more people getting him now, so that's great, and it is Iron Man. Now, he has really high base damage. He's got some pretty nice multipliers, especially on his ultimate Unibeam, and also with him he's got the unavoidable damage on his special that he can fire off at the start of a fight. And then finally he's got some nice tech synergies, and tech is a really great tag now. It can add a really high amount of additional crit chance to tech characters, so that can really help out the team type. The synergy we're looking at here that would move him up to high alpha would be if you pair him up with Captain America. He does more damage on his unavoidable AoE special, and also you've got the fact there's a chance that Cap could feed him ability energy, allowing him to get that Unibeam off even quicker. Now, the next character I have here is one that's possibly going to be a bit controversial, so I'll mention straight away that with Synergies, and a synergy would be with Cable, this character would move up to very high alpha, is of course Deadpool, a character that was previously rated on the lower range of Omega. Now, what Deadpool offers, which is great, he's got the fact that any debuffs on him will actually result in him being healed. He's got the exceptionally hard hitting ultimate attack that ignores the taunt. The one issue I have, and this is the reason he's dropped down a little bit, is with this taunt you're not actually choosing who you attack, so there could be a character that's got a sliver of health left. Let's say it's even a minion with 1% health left, and what happens is if you fire this off, Deadpool will target that character. He'll do in the region of about 50,000 damage, but it's simply overkill, so it's a case of you have to actually hold off and wait till that minion or that summon character's been defeated before you can then use that assassinate skill on him. You've got his special with the rebound, which is really nice as well, but it's all about placement. If the characters aren't grouped together, he'll simply do one hit. And then finally you have the fact that he's more based around minions because he does additional attacks and minions, and he's got the bleed, which is only guaranteed for minions as well. So he is an exceptionally strong character, but he's one that I do feel that's slightly overrated in previous videos. So he's mid-alpha, moves up to high alpha with Cable. Now when we look at Cable, we can see he moves up to high alpha if you pair him up with Deadpool. That's the combo that if you get a kill on Cable's ultimate, it can fill your speed bar and Deadpool's speed bar by a whopping 70%. So it's almost giving you, or giving both of you, a turn straight away. Also what makes him very strong is his kit is based around time manipulation, and the whole order of who can go faster in fights really can be a massive game changer. If you can get your skills off before a mirror team that you're fighting, and you can lock them down before they have the chance to do that to you, you can also do a huge amount of damage as well. Now I will just mention that you possibly have another synergy with the likes of Black Widow or Merc Lieutenant, because he's a little bit on the slower side and he could do with the extra speed there. The next character we have then is Doctor Strange, and he's a character that I was referring to when I mentioned about situational characters and how much of an impact they can have in a situation to actually be in the alpha tier. So Doctor Strange can be an absolute game changer for two reasons. The first one is on his ultimate. He's got the revive. Previously when he first came out, if you were trying to 3-star a level and you revived a character, it wouldn't count and you would still only get 1 or 2 stars. Now they fixed that, so if you can revive the one character that gets down, you'll still retain your 3-star rating. That's exceptionally important when it comes to these new events that you want to be farming on a daily basis. You've also got his special as well, and this really is fantastic. So he will flip enemy buffs into debuffs. So with teams like the Shield team and Nick Fury, you can be looking at them sitting with 4 or 5 buffs on themselves. Doctor Strange flips that to 4 or 5 debuffs, which is incredible. If you even pair him up with the likes of Scarlet Witch, then you can extend the duration of them as well. So that's the reason he is a mid-range alpha character. Next up we have Rocket Raccoon, a character that's only getting better as the game goes on due to the synergies with tech and also with Groot coming out as well. So he would move up 1 tier, and that would be with synergies that he would gain through teaming him up with Groot, because you get that taunt and additional damage, teaming him up with Star-Lord as well, because Star-Lord can guarantee an attack from a Guardians character, and that works really nice with Rocket due to the AoE basic he's got with the additional crit chance. And if you even pair him up with Iron Man, you're getting even more crit chance as well. And imagine Rocket Raccoon wouldn't mind eyeing up some of Iron Man's tech and wanting to steal it at some point. Now, final character we have in mid-alpha is Black Panther. He's a character that starts off really quite slow, but once you level him up, especially his passive, where he can get additional speed bar on kill, and once you start to level up his special and his ultimate as well, he'll do a lot more damage, meaning he's getting more kills, meaning his speed bar will fill up. Now the reason he is mid-alpha is that his speed bar on kill actually stacks. So let's say you take out 3 summons and his passive was at level 5, that would give you 3 turns one after the other with him. He's also likely to move up in the near future as well, because we've had Okoye's kit revealed and she's got some really nice synergies with him. Now we've got the final tier before we move into Mega, so this is high rated alpha characters that are just on the cusp of getting into a Mega rating but slightly fall short for a few of them. You have Hand Sentry first, so he's the first minion I've actually reviewed, and the reason I reviewed him is he's such a good character and that's why he's sitting up at this rating. It's all down to the special he's got, where he applies the stealth to characters but applies evade to all characters as well. It's exceptionally important for getting through some of the harder campaign missions. I really don't know how I'd be able to get by some of them without this awesome minion character. The next character we have is one that I've sadly have to move down a tier, and it is Hawkeye. Previously he was a Mega, he's now high alpha. Now the reason he's moved it is that there was some issues with his kit, and for a long while we believed those issues were bugs, but it's been confirmed by support it's not. So previously when he was in a Mega rated hero, we believed that his ultimate applied blind to all characters, but that's not actually the case. It only has a 50% chance of applying blind to characters, so that really pulls him down a bit. And also on his special it looked like it should do AoE damage, but it doesn't actually do that. Now, the reason he's sitting at a high alpha character is he's an exceptionally good controller class. He's got on his passive the ability to strip stealth from characters, so that's very useful against the likes of Black Widow or Elektra if they stealth up, so you can burn them down. He's got the AoE cleanse on his special, that's exceptionally important if you've got a lot of buffs and characters. And you've still got the blind on his ultimate, which is really nice, but it's not as reliable as we previously thought it was. The next character we have is one that, if I was purely basing this on raids, then she would without a doubt be a high tier Omega character. It is the awesome Night Nurse. Now, Night Nurse has got that passive heal on every turn, which can actually heal for a really nice amount, but the main part of her kit, and this is what makes her so high, is the awesome 2 turns of regen she gets on her ultimate. She doesn't get it to level 6, so you need to put a fair amount of investment into her, but it is without a doubt worthwhile. Once you do have her leveled, when you're running through raids, having to worry about medkits will be a thing of the past. You simply won't have to use them at all. The next character we have here in high alpha is Thanos, a character that was pretty good before, but they've made him exceptionally good now. Now you can see that he's actually got 2 of the little plus symbols, because with synergies, and the synergies would be pairing him up with other cosmic characters, then he would jump up to a mid Omega character. Now the reason he's a high alpha character without cosmic characters is that a huge part of his kit, and this is his passive, is around the fact that when an enemy is defeated, that he'll actually generate ability energy, but he only generates it for cosmic characters, so you're losing a lot if you don't pair him up with a cosmic team. But what he'll still have, even saying that, is on his taunt, he's got the fence down, and he's also got the fact that very few characters in the game can actually dispel his taunt, because when he taunts up, his resistance jumps up by a whopping 1000% there. So he's absolutely incredible now, but do make sure you pair him up with cosmic characters to get the most of his kit. The next one we have, this would be Gamora. This is a character that would actually jump up to low Omega with synergies. The synergy in question would be with Star-Lord. Star-Lord would give her additional speed, and she's already really fast, and he also would give her additional damage. Now the reason that works really nice with her is she has very low base damage, but that is compensated by the fact that she's got exceptionally high multipliers on her basic, for example, and this is on her basic. If she gets a chain of 3 hits, then she can do a whopping 650% damage. Now if you add in the additional damage that Star-Lord can actually provide her as part of his synergy, it really is insane. You can almost one-shot some characters with her basic. I'll also mention the fact she's got a similar setup to Black Panther in that she's got the chain on kill. It's not as powerful because it doesn't stack, but it is still very useful there. The final character we have in high alpha is Crossbones, one that you'll constantly see in arena, and he is a one-trick pony, but the trick he does is exceptionally good. So it's all about that ultimate. When you upgrade the ultimate to level 6, then you can fire it off on the second turn. If you use Kingpin before doing that and you have the defense up, it will absolutely annihilate the majority of the teams. So one trick pony there, but again, as mentioned, what a trick. Now, final tier we've got here is a mega tier. So this is the best of the best characters. Now, as we go from low to high, low mega tier characters are ones that are exceptionally strong, and it will be potentially the fact that they can't work in any team, that they're on the lower end of a mega. High end of mega characters will be one you can fit in just about any team, and they will add a ton of value there. Now, the first Omega rated character we'll look at then is Kingpin, and through synergies, and this is if you run him with a full villains team, I would say would move up to the mid Omega rating there. So with Kingpin, he's got on his special that the fact he's a protector class and generally he's taunt, but what Kingpin does is he'll call in his summons, and he can actually call in between 2 to 3, and what that means that as long as it's not an AoE that strikes them and it's single target, then you're in a roundabout way, you're actually getting 3 turns of taunt here, which is pretty amazing, and it's not doing any damage to Kingpin either. We've then got his ultimate, and that provides the offense up and defense up. That's an exceptional combo to have, do more damage and also take less damage. And then finally, it's the combination of all these 3 parts together that make him a mega. You've got his passive, so you run him with a villains team, and with that setup, when each villain actually has their turn, there's a 1 in 4 chance when his passive is maxed out for them to get an assist attack as well. So if you run him with the likes of Nebula, who already has assists in her kit, you'll see attacks going off all over the screen there. Now we have our final Guardians of the Galaxy character here, so this is Star-Lord. Now he's got 2 of the little plus symbols. If you were to pair him up with a Guardians of the Galaxy team, so that's the likes of, I would say specifically Gamora or Rocket, then he would move up to high Omega character. Now what's he got that's so good? Previously there was too much RNG in his kit, and that was in regards to the damage he done and also the ability energy he generated, but that has all been solved. You've got the guaranteed chain on his basic. You've got his special, which will provide energy to adjacent allies. So if you pair him up at the far left or far right of a map and you put a character that you want to feed energy to directly to the side of him, and that's the only character, there's a very high chance they'll feed the energy to that character, and it means you can get the likes of Rocket's ultimate on turn 2. You've also got his ultimate that in a lot of instances, if you pair him up with Gamora or Rocket Raccoon, his ultimate will actually one-shot characters. The likes of Yondu and so on are taken out easily on the first turn of a match, and he's got some pretty high attack speed, so he can do that before they've got a chance to move at all. Finally, you've got that passive there where you're generating ability energy to Guardians of the Galaxy characters, and if that wasn't good enough, you've also got the fact that he will provide an additional 30% damage to Guardians of the Galaxy characters and 20% attack speed as well, so he really is exceptional. And I should also say, actually seen Vision, it reminds me, he's got the tech tag, so if you pair him up with the likes of Vision, then he's getting the defense up on his first 2 turns as well. That can really help out with his survivability. Now when we look at Vision, he's a character that's seen a whole lot of changes. You had the initial patch which bumped him way up, and then you had Scarlet Witch coming out, that's bumped him up even further. So Vision's potentially one of the best controller classes in the game. If you pair him up in a tech team, if you pair him up with the likes of Scarlet Witch, then he would move to a mid and mega character. What makes Vision so good? So you've got the basic first, that can chain and apply a fence down. You've then got his special. This can be exceptionally good for locking down tanks, and it can completely shut down hand sentries. So with the special, you'd apply an ability block to 2 targets at the start of a fight, and then finally you've got his ultimate as well. On the ultimate, you've got the fact that it can strip 2 positive buffs from every character. So if you're going up against Kingpin, he puts up the defense up and defense up, and then instantly Vision can strip that from them there. So he really is a great character now. In mid Omega tier, we have a character that's seen some pretty huge overhauls as well recently, so it is of course Spider-Man. Now on Spider-Man's basic, you've got the fact he can apply evade to himself. This ties in with his passive, and that if he dodges, and dodge and evade are classed as the same thing, then it will actually fill up his speed bar by 10%, so that can be really nice. You've got his special, which is incredible now, that will apply 2 turns of defense down to between 3 to 4 enemies. You just need to be careful how you actually do use this, because if any enemies have counter or stealth, then that will actually break the chain there, so that's something to be wary of. And then you've got his ultimate, which does a huge amount of damage. It stuns the enemy and it applies slow as well, which is an incredible combo and great for shutting down characters. Now with them all covered, let's go to the final section, which is the high rated and mega characters. So we've only got 4 characters here. Now the first one we look at is Quake. The reason she's so important is that speed up and slow down in the game is exceptionally important. You've got Quake that can apply the 2 turns of slow down. It's also on her basic, which means you can spam it. It's an AoE, meaning it can hit multiple characters. Her special and passive are a little bit underwhelming, but you've then got the ultimate, which pulls her up again. The ultimate does a huge amount of damage, and you can apply a fence down to 5 characters as well, so she really is an absolutely great character. The next one we have here is Captain America, the first Avenger. Now Cap, he's just absolutely fantastic. He's got that ability energy he'll generate to Avengers characters and also other characters. He's got the high block chance and high health pool, so that really helps out his survivability. And you've got the fact that on the first turn he's got the defense up and the taunt, so that's something when we're talking about Luke Cage he missed, but the defense up and the taunt are all one skill. You'll use that at the start of a fight so the enemy has to focus on you, and most of the attacks you'll actually be blocking there. And if that all wasn't enough, he's got the cleanse, and it's an AoE cleanse if it actually chains on his ultimate as well, so absolutely incredible character. Next up we have Yondu. Here is possibly one of the most versatile characters in the game with the amount he offers in his kit. And he actually offers so much that as I'm reading this out, or as I'm running through this, I actually had to pull up msf.gg to make sure I covered everything that is in his kit. Now we look at the basic first. He does a nice amount of damage because it's got the decent multiplier, but it also does piercing damage. This will clear 2 positive effects from target, and the reason this is very important is a lot of tanks like Cap we've just talked about will put up the 2 buffs on himself, the taunt and the defense up, so the likes of Yondu can strip both of them. We've then got his special where he calls in summons, so no matter what one you get, be it the Ravager Boomer for the huge AoE damage or the Stitcher for the heals, these can be really helpful here. He will also apply a fence up to the Ravager characters as they get called in, and that's one of the reasons that Boomer does so much damage. You've got his ultimate, which is the AoE Yaka Arrow. Again, that does a huge amount of damage and it works as piercing, and it's undodgeable as well. The only thing is it doesn't hit stealth characters, so watch out if you're going up against Hand Sentry. And then finally you've got his passive, which is really strong, and I hate going up against him due to this passive. So on each turn he'll copy 2 positive effects off of enemies and strip them and actually apply them to himself as well. So what makes this so dangerous is if he copies the likes of speed, then that means it will be even quicker before he gets his next turn, and then copies more effects as well. So you really can strip all the buffs you took your time working up to off your team pretty fast there. Now, final character we look at here is Black Widow, a pretty elusive character for a lot of people. Hopefully she'll be coming to Blitz soon. What makes Black Widow so powerful? It's all down to that speed manipulation once again. So she can apply the speed up. Currently it's sitting at 50%. We believe it may change to 30% in time, but even if it does, it still will be exceptionally powerful. She can actually remove buffs from characters on her basic as well, and also she has the fact that she's got the stun on her ultimate. So the combination of the speed up and the stun, and actually she has stealth on her special as well. She's another character that's got so much in her kit, it's sometimes hard to keep track there. So with that, that's all the characters within the game, all the named characters and one minion covered. This took a lot longer than I expected it would, but I wanted to be comprehensive in this tier list and explain the rationale for all the placements, and especially the rationale behind any characters that may have slightly moved. So let me know in the comments below what you think of the tier list. I'm sure I don't have to say that because I know you will do that anyway. Let me know if the new format is easy enough to read, because if it's not, when I do my next in-depth review, I'm happy to tweak it a little bit to make it more accessible for everyone to understand it. But if you got to the end of this video, I appreciate it. Thanks for sitting with me through this, and as always, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all again soon.